Good morning. Today we're going to be reading our sermon, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, from Jonathan Edwards. We already have covered the background, that introduction about our sermon and about our author, okay? So what we're going to do is read the sermon. It's around 4 pages long. It's not that long. Remember, it says from, because it's just a part. It's not the complete text, okay? Remember, the sermon lasted 6 hours long. Okay, John, background.
Jonathan Edwards delivered this famous sermon to a congregation in Enfield, Connecticut in 1741.
1741 is the year that he delivered the sermon, okay?
Surprisingly, he spoke quietly and without emotion. According to the one account, he read the 6 hours work in one level voice, studied over the heads of his audience. At the bell, broke and that hanging against the back wall, as if he would stare it into.
Remember what I said about the bell rope, that he just stared at the rope. He didn't stare at his congregation.
Despite his calm manner, his listeners are said to have screamed in terror, and Edward had to stop several times to ask for silence.
So when these people got in terror, they were like screaming in fear, and he said he had to stop to ask for silence, okay? Now, Paola, begin.
This is the case of every one of you that are out of Christ.
Right there, he's telling the people, this is for all of you that are out of Christ, that are away from Christ. His intentions here is to persuade those people to go back to Christ and to believe in Him. Go ahead.
That world of misery, that lake of burning brimstone, extended abroad under you.
Under you. What are you talking there?
Hell.
About hell. Very good.
There is dreadful pit of the glowing flames of the wrath of God.
Right there you have number 1, wrath of God. You're going to see wrath a lot. If you want, just count how many wrath appears here. We got 1.
There is hell's white gaping mouth open, and you have nothing to stand upon, nor anything to take hold of you. There is nothing between you and hell but the air. It is only the power and mere pleasure of God that holds you.
So right here, he's describing hell like a gate that has the mouth open, ready for you to enter and to shut you down there. Paola, can you read that last sentence, the one that says about the air? Anything, okay.
Anything to take hold of you. There is nothing between you and hell but the air.
What air he's talking there?
The earth.
Air. Remember, go back to the Native Americans.
Life, air, life.
The air. The only thing is that wind, that air. The only thing that is remaining these people from that separation from hell is that they're alive. That means once you die, it's inevitable you're going to go to hell. Go ahead. Everyone, yeah. Remember, he's talking to that congregation there. Go ahead.
You probably are not sensible of this. You find you are kept out of hell, but do not see the hand of God in it. But look at other things, as a good state of your bodily constitution, your care of your own life, and the means you use for your own preservation.
It's like, for example, you guys think that you're safe right now. You think that because you have your constitution and your rules and all of the things that you guys have created, you're going to be safe. But no constitution, no nothing is going to save you from going to hell. Okay, you see, has he said something good so far? No. And this is going to be continuously. Go ahead.
But indeed, these things are nothing. If God should withdraw his hand, they would avail no more to keep you from falling down the thin air to hold up a person that is suspended.
So it's like you haven't fallen to hell so far. You are suspending in the hand of God. That's what he said. Sinners in the hands of an angry God. Like God has those sinners in His palm of the hand. If He wants to, He just lets them go. So you're a sinner, but God right now is protecting you in the palm. My marker and my pen are the sinners that God is holding those sinners there. If God wants, release it and let it go. And that's what's going to happen. They'll go straight to hell. Okay? He's going to use a lot of metaphor here. Go ahead.
Your wickedness makes you as it were heavy as lead, and to tend downwards with great weight and pressure towards hell. And if God should let you go, you would immediately sink and swiftly descend and plunge into the bottomless gulf. And your healthy constitution and your own care and prudence and best confidence and all your righteousness would have no more influence to uphold you and keep you out of hell than spider's web would have to stop upon you.
You see, describing like the hand with the spider web. Like you're right there hanging in his hand right there. Go ahead.
Were it not for the sovereign pleasure of God, the earth would not bear you one moment.
It's right there, like it's like you don't belong here. Like if it wasn't because of God, like the world would not hold you and stand you up here. Go ahead.
The world will spew you up. Were it not for the sovereign hands of him who hath subjected it.
Well, what he's saying right there, the world will spit you out. Like the world will spit you out. Like the world will just kick you out and isolate you from the congregation if you don't do things correctly. Okay? So he's continuously threatening the people. Go ahead.
There are black clouds of dreadful storm, and big with thunder. And were it not for the restraining hand of God, it would immediately burst forth upon you. The sovereign pleasure of God, for the present, stays this rough wind. Otherwise, it would come with fury, and your destruction would come like a whirlwind, and you would be like the shaft of the summer threshing floor. The wrath of God is like great waters that are dammed for the present.
He's going to describe the wrath of God now with water. Remember, as you continue to be sinful, that wrath is going to continue to grow. And God is going to grow anger and anger, just like the water, as it continues to and covers you up and drowns you. Same thing. What do you know that is, what is light and ass? Light and ass. When you were doing the elements of literature, those are what? Similes. Every time we use something is like or something is as this thing, you're doing a simile, okay? So you're comparing. Go ahead.
They increase more and more and rise higher and higher, till an outlet is given. And the longer the stream is stopped, the more rapid and mighty it is dispersed. When once it is let loose, it is true that judgment against your evil works has not been executed hitherto. The hoods of God's vengeance have been withheld, but your guilt in the meantime is constantly increasing.
Right there he's telling, even though we don't have Judgment Day has not arrived, your guilt is still increasing. And once you get that judgment, you're going to be what? You're going to be punished.
And you are every day treasuring up more wrath. The waters are constantly rising and waxing more and more mighty. And there is nothing but the mere pleasure of God that holds the waters back, that are unwilling to be stopped and press hard to go forward. If God should only withdraw his hand from the floodgate, it would immediately fly open, and the fiery floods of the weariness and wrath of God would rush forth with inconceivable fury, and would come upon you with omnipotent power. And if your strength were 10,000 times greater than it is, 10,000 times greater than the strength of the self-test, sturdiest devil in hell, there will be nothing to withstand or endure.
So even though if your strength is 10,000 stronger than the devils on hell, it will not still be enough to be saved. Okay, as strong as you are, you're not going to be saved anyways. Go ahead.
and the arrow made ready on the string. And justice bends the arrow at your heart, and strains both. And it is nothing but the mere pleasure of God, and that of an angry God.
You see, you have to continue. Like, when God is going to punish you, He's going to have pleasure. God is going to punish you. He still continues to say that you're going to be punished. In no way says God is merciful and He's going to protect you. In nowhere. It's totally different from what we read in Plymouth Plantation. Totally different. Go ahead.
Without any promise or obligation at all, that keeps the arrow one moment from being made drunk into with your blood. Thus, all you that never pass under a great change of heart, by the mighty power of the Spirit of God upon your souls, all you that were never born again, and made new creatures, and raised from the being dead in sin to a state of mute, and before altogether unexperienced light and life are in the hands of an angry God.
What do you think is the view of Jonathan Edwards in this sermon? What view? The nothing, the circular, or the linear? The linear. You die and you have a judgment. You have a punishment. That's the view that he has. Go ahead. We're in page 89. Go ahead. The top.
A state of new and before altogether unexperienced light and life are in the hands of an angry God. However, you may have reformed for many life in many things, and may have had religious affections, and may keep a form of religion in your families and closets. And in the house of God, it is nothing but His mere pleasure that keeps you from being this moment swallowed up in everlasting destruction.
So he's telling you, you have the ability to reform yourself. You have the ability to save yourself. If you come back and you do things the way you have to do them, you could be saved. Okay, go ahead.
However unconvinced you may now be the truth of what you hear, by and by you will be fully convinced of it. Those that are gone from being in the like circumstances with you see that was so with them. For destruction came suddenly upon the most of them, when they expected nothing of it. And while they were saying peace and safety, now they see that those things on which they depend on for peace and safety were nothing but thin air and empty shadows. The God that holds you over the pit of hell, much as one holds a spider, or some loathsome insect over the fire, abhors you and dreadfully provokes.
So he's comparing these people with insects, right there. Go ahead.
His wrath towards you burn like fire. He looks upon you as worthy of nothing else, but to be cast into the fire. He is of pure eyes that you have in his sight. You are 10,000 times more abominable in his eyes than the most hateful venomous serpent is in ours.
Right there is telling you you're worse than a venomous serpent. Go ahead.
O sinner, consider the fearful danger you are in. It is the great furnace of wrath, a wide bottomless pit full of fire wrath, that you are held over in the hands of God, whose wrath is provoked and incensed as much against you, as against many of the damned in hell. You hang by a slender thread, with the flames of divine wrath flashing about you, ready every moment to singe and burn into a southern. And you have no interest in any mediator, and nothing that lay hold of to save yourself, nothing to keep you of the flames of wrath, nothing of your own, nothing that you have ever done, nothing that you can do to induce God to spare you one moment. When God beholds the inflammable extremity of your case and sees your torment to be so vastly disproportioned to your strength, and see how your poor soul is crushed and sinks down as it were into an infinite gloom, He will have no compassion upon you.
This God is known as what? He's a punishing God. Go ahead.
He will not forbear the executions of his wrath, or in the least lighten his hand. There shall be no moderation of mercy, nor will God then at all stay his rough wind. He will have no regard to your welfare, nor to be at all careful lest you should not suffer too much in other sense. Then only that you shall not suffer beyond what strict justice requires. God stands ready to pity you. This is a day of mercy. You may cry now with some encouragement of obtaining mercy. But once a day of mercy has passed, your most lamentable of dolorous cries and shrieks.
The day of mercy is judgment day. Okay?
You will be in vain. You will be wholly lost and thrown away of God as to any regard to your welfare. God will have no other use to put you to be suffer misery. You shall be continued in being to no other end, for you be a vessel of wrath, fitted to destruction. And there will be no other use of this vessel to be filled with full of wrath. Thus it will be with you that you are only converted state, if you continue in the infinite might and majesty and terribleness of omnipotent God shall be magnified upon you in the infallible strength of your torments. You shall be tormented in the presence of holy angels in the presence of the Lamb. And when you shall be in the state of suffering, the glorious inhabitants of heaven shall go forth and look at the awful spectacle, and they may see what the wrath and fierceness of Almighty is. And when they have seen it, they will fall down and adore the great power of the Majesty.
So you're gonna be suffering, and you're gonna have witnesses right there witnessing your punishment. Okay, Paula, like, she take a break.
It would be dreadful to suffer this fierceness and wrath of Almighty God one moment, but you must suffer it to all eternity. There will be no end to this exquisite, horrible misery. When you look forward, you shall see it forever, a boundless duration before you,
Like that punishment will be eternal. Go ahead.
which will swallow up your thoughts and amaze your soul, and you will absolutely despair of ever having any deliverance, any end, any mitigation, any rest at all. How dreadful is the state of those that are daily and hourly in the danger of this great wrath and infinite misery. But this is the dismal case of every soul in this congregation that has not been born again. However moral and strict, sober and religious they may otherwise be. Oh, that you would consider it, whether you be young or old. Those of you that finally continue in a natural condition that shall keep you out of hell longest will be there in a little time. Your damnation does not slumber. It will come swiftly, and in all probability, very suddenly upon many of you. You have reason to wonder that you are not already in hell.
It's like wonder. Probably you're already in hell. You're already suffering. Probably you are in hell already. But
It is doubtless the case of some whom you have seen and known, that never deserved hell more than you, and that heretofore appeared as likely to have been now alive as you. Their case is past all hope. They are crying in extreme misery and perfect perfect despair. But here you are in the land of the living and in the house of God, and have an opportunity to obtain salvation. What would not those poor damned hopeless souls give for one day's opportunity such as now endure? And now you have an extraordinary opportunity, a day wherein Christ has thrown the door of mercy wide open, and stands in calling and crying with a loud voice to poor sinners.
so it's like right now, God has thrown the door of mercy wide open. If you are willing to just save yourself and not go to hell, this is the time to come to God, because He's giving you the time. It's like, for example, like when they given this amnesties, like, so you can, for example, like a year ago they did an amnesty for people to return their illegal guns. So they put an amnesty, for example, from this day and this day, if at home you have an illegal gun, you're gonna go to a fire station, they're gonna have a box, and you're gonna put that illegal gun there. They're not gonna ask you nothing, you put it there, and they just put it away. Those are amnesties that they do. In this case, the break that they're giving here is right now. If you're safe, you wanna save, you can be safe right now, but you need to just what? Come to God again. Go ahead.
A day wherein many are flocking to him and pressing into the kingdom of God. Many are daily coming from the east, west, north, and south. Many that were very lately in the same miserable condition that you are in, are now in a happy state, with their hearts filled with love to him who has loved them, and washed them from their sins in his own blood, and rejoicing in hope of the glory of God. How awful it is to be left behind at such a day, to see so many others feasting while you are pining and perishing, to see so many rejoicing and singing for joy of heart, while you have cause to mourn, to sorrow of heart, and howl for vexation of spirit. Therefore, let anyone that is out of Christ now awake and fly from the wrath.
Right there, it's telling you that last line, that first line for that last paragraph. Therefore, let everyone that is out of Christ now wake and fly from the wrath to come. Right there, remember, with great awakening. Go ahead.
The wrath of Almighty God is now undoubtedly hanging over a great part of the congregation. Let everyone fly out of Sodom. Haste and escape for your lives. Look not behind you. Escape to the mountain, lest you be consumed.
Big time. I don't see no difference at all between Plymouth and this one. No difference. Basically, there's none. You have a bunch. No similarities. You have a bunch of differences. It's like, if you put it, what similarities do you have between both? Like, basically none. But differences, a bunch, okay? So right now what we're going to be working is, you're going to give me 10 differences from Plymouth and from Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Basically, that's it for a lecture on Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Thank you.